Hey, Walt here from waltonpa.com as well as stogierreview.com, and I'm here to do another Shooting the Breeze video. And as you would imagine, just like the last dozen or so that I've done, the subject at hand is guns. And to sort of go into a subcategory here, I want to talk a little bit about the Gun Rights Radio Network. Now, this video on the surface really shouldn't take that long, just to talk a little bit about the network itself, but I feel as though it kind of should have a little bit of backstory mixed in, or at least my backstory on finding the network. It's not really necessary, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. So this video has the potential to go the distance. I'm not quite sure how long it will run, but I would suggest clicking pause and going to get a drink. Because I have a tendency to get really long-winded, and I've got no reason to stop. It's a Sunday afternoon. My chores are done for the morning. I've got a bit of a lull in the action. So I've got a cigar, I've got a little bourbon, and I've got nothing better to do than sit in front of the camera and just ramble on and on. So with that said, let's talk about my experience with the Gun Rights Radio Network. And it all starts off with where I live. I'm here in Pennsylvania, and we have a defined summer, winter, spring. We don't have sort of a comfortable temperature that averages out year-round. We definitely have a snow and ice season, and then we have weather like we've been having recently, where it's 100 degrees plus, and the humidity is just astounding. And because of this, generally, excuse me, I don't do much shooting in the wintertime. I don't particularly like standing out in the snow and the ice and not being able to feel my fingers as I'm pulling the trigger. So there's a few months out of the year where I really don't shoot. I clean out my guns, I pack them away, and I don't unpack them and get back to shooting until temperatures are averaging, high 40s, low 50s. And at that point, I'll get back into shooting. It's not too bad. I don't mind being out in that type of weather. But when those temperatures roll around again every year, I get bit by the gun bug, and generally I get bit pretty hard. And what ends up happening is I get all my guns out, I give them a good cleaning, I look over them, make sure that nothing happened while they were stored, whether there was some rust or anything. Make sure that they're all clean and ready to go. I load up my range bag with all my stuff, and I head over to the range, and I pop off a couple hundred rounds just to kind of shake the rust off of myself, because I haven't shot in a few months. And that generally leads to me reading up on gun blogs in between range trips. The gun blogs lead to YouTube videos, the YouTube videos lead to podcasts, and so on and so forth. And the next thing I know, I'm totally immersed in the gun culture, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can so that when I go to the range, I can apply all these different things I've learned, or these tips and things that I've heard or read about, and improve my shooting. For instance, if I hear on a podcast a tip on focusing on the front sight, or how one person in particular does it, I may go to the range and give that a try and focus on that, or how to clean up my draw or something like that. So it's a great way to gather information, and there's an abundance of it out there. I mean, everyone and anyone that's active online typically has a blog these days. So finding information is very easy. Finding quality information is a little more difficult. But I've found that, by going to a few different sources, they sort of give you their inner circle, or their extended circle, and you get to see who they trust, and then all of a sudden you've got this group of people that you read about, or you watch them on YouTube, or you listen to them via podcast, and you really trust their opinion. And that's kind of how things are going for me. Now, I'm not quite sure how I came about the Gun Rights Radio Network. I know that a few years ago, or even as soon as last year, I was listening to a lot of both Tom Gresham and Michael Bain, usually more often Michael Bain, and his Downrange Radio podcast. And like usual, when the weather broke and things started getting more comfortable and shooting was an option again, I started reading blogs, I started watching YouTube videos, and then I immersed myself back into gun podcasts. And the first one I started listening to was Michael Bain on Downrange Radio. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. And I wanted to extend beyond Michael Bain. I mean, he's very interesting to listen to. Some of the stuff he says is kind of off the wall, but he's entertaining, and he generally puts forth an interesting opinion. And from there, I think I may have just done a Google search for gun podcast, or someone may have recommended them on Twitter or something, but somehow I stumbled onto the Gun Dudes. And as I mentioned in my gun podcast write-up, where I highlighted some of the gun podcasts that I listened to, when I first started listening to the Gun Dudes, I really couldn't stand them. And, not... I know that sounds really bad, but they seem to talk over one another a lot, and I found myself getting really frustrated because I wanted to hear what one of them had to say, and then they're joking and there's camaraderie, and I'm getting kind of frustrated. But I pushed through and I listened to an entire episode anyway. When it was all said and done, I liked the vast majority of what I heard. So I listened to another episode and another and another, and before you know it, the style really grew on me. I mean, I still kind of get frustrated a little bit every now and again when they start talking over one another, when there's an interesting topic being discussed by one of them, and it kind of irks you a little bit, but you wind up laughing through it because it's just funny banter back and forth. And as I listened to episode after episode after episode, there was always a mention of the Gun Rights Radio Network in there. Now, initially I wasn't too concerned about it because I was keeping myself occupied with the Gun Dudes and Downrange Radio with Michael Bain and all these blogs, and at the same time I was watching a lot of the Caleb Giddings stuff from Gun Nuts Media. And eventually I just heard the advertisement play enough times that I decided to go check it out. And when I looked into the Gun Rights Radio Network, that's where I found the Pro Arms Podcast, Daniel Shaw's Gunfighter Cast, Keith Blanchard, I think it's Keith or Kenneth, I don't remember, I'm really bad with names. His Urban Shooter podcast was really interesting, and the list goes on and on. Doc Weston from Gun Nation. And I just started listening to all these podcasts, and it was all thanks to the Gun Rights Radio Network, because everything was sort of there in one big, organized fashion, where you go to the website and everything is listed to the side, and you get a little bit of information about each of them. And then from there, I would go on to all of their individual websites, grab their RSS feed, plug it into the Google Reader, and then from there, I would just listen to them as I go. And I got into the habit of burning podcasts to disc. I don't have satellite radio, and I can't stand listening to terrestrial radio. The commercials just are so frustrating. You hear 2 or 3 songs, and then it's 2 or 3 songs worth of commercials, it seems. So I really don't listen to radio unless I absolutely have to. And for a long time, what I would do is burn just MP3 discs and just listen to them in my car. I could get 700 megabytes worth of music on a single disc, and I'd listen to that for a couple of weeks until I got absolutely sick of it, and then I'd throw it out and I'd burn another one. Well, eventually those music discs were replaced by podcasts. Back before my daughter was born, when I had a lot more time, I used to listen to a lot of cigar podcasts. Dogwatch Cigar Radio, or Dogwatch Social Club, which turned into Cigar Radio. And I really can't think of many more that are actually up and operational. I mean, Doc Stogie Fresh does, Stogie Fresh 5. And I used to burn a lot of those to disc, listen to them in my car. And I eventually swapped out the cigar stuff for gun stuff. And now I find myself burning like 5 episodes of Gun Dudes, maybe 5 episodes of Pro Arms, and anything else that I can fit in there. And I'll mix them up. Sometimes I'll do, Gun Nation instead of Pro Arms or something like that. I typically always leave the Gun Dudes in there because I'm trying to get through all of the episodes. They're really fun to listen to. And I'm not quite sure where I'm at. I think I'm up in 115-ish range. I'm working backwards. Excuse me. But But that's really all my total source of podcast information has come from the Gun Rights Radio Network at this point. I don't branch out much outside of it because there's so much content, so much quality content to listen to all there, that I really haven't found the need to branch out much. I mean, I still listen to and watch the Caleb Giddings stuff, although I don't listen to much of it because it's a real hassle. He uses, it's I don't remember the service, but I'm not a fan of it because I can't just get the audio feed directly from Google Reader. I have to click through, and then I have to click through again, and then I have to download it. It's just a headache. But at any rate, I get the bulk of my information from the Gun Rights Radio Network these days, and it was in a couple of I think it was Gun Dudes and Pro Arms had mentioned the Gun Rights Radio Network forums for quite a while, and they'd mentioned commenting and things like that. And I went to the forum a few weeks ago, and I started looking at it, and then I got frustrated. Visitors are only permitted about 15 page views, and I'm one of those guys that goes to a particular forum, and then I open up in a new browser tab all of the subcategories that I want to look at, whether it's general discussion, pistol discussion, rifle, or in the case of Gun Rights Radio Network, it was Gun Dudes, Pro Arms, Gunfighter Cast, general discussion. Anyway, I'm opening up all these tabs, and then I'm going through each tab, and I'm looking through the first page of discussion, and I'm opening up even more tabs on each particular subject that interests me, or each forum thread. And then when I'm done there, I close that window, and then I go to the next browser tab, and I open up a bunch more. By the time I'm done, I may wind up with 30 tabs open or something in some cases. But I found out that by the time I actually got down to reading the content, I had exceeded my viewer reading limit, and I got kind of frustrated. I closed the window, then I forgot about it, and I came back again. I went through the whole same process, and when I got to the content, I exceeded my limit, and I got this message that I had to sign up, and I get frustrated again. I closed the window, and then finally, I just decided, I'm going to go ahead and register. And I'm not a big forum guy. I mean, I am, but I'm not. I tend to do a lot more reading than I do posting. And it's always been that way. Back in the old Club Stogie days, I think that was the most active forum that I was a part of. And in the course of the 2 years or so that I was a member before they sold, I think I had amassed maybe 300 posts, 300 to 400 posts in that time. I generally don't really post unless I have something to add. And, I'm not the type of guy that likes to thread jack and banner back and forth and things like that. So my post count doesn't get really high, and I'm not going to say the same thing that someone else said because it's already said. There's no need in me typing it up. So my post count usually stays pretty low, and because I don't post much, a lot of times I don't really feel the need to register, and I just kind of view the forums as it goes. Well, in the case of the Gun Rights Radio Network forum, I didn't have much of a choice. I had to sign up, and even after signing up, I'm really happy that I did it. I posted an introduction thread. And in that thread, I had mentioned, I live in the Berks County area, Pennsylvania. I enjoy guns. I have a personal blog. I'm also a cigar buff, and I run this website, Stogie Review. And then in the responses, I got a lot of warm welcomes, which was cool. It was more than just the usual welcome and then the smiley face. There was like an actual sentence or two of actual content there, which I thought was really cool. I love when people take the time to do that and go beyond just welcome. So I'm going through there, and it turns out there's a whole bunch of cigar smokers on the forum, which is fantastic. I thought it was just coincidental that on the Stogie Review fan forums, you've got a cigar base, obviously, but in that cigar base, you've got maybe a dozen gun owners that actively participate in the small firearms thread that we've got going on. And I thought that was really cool when I transitioned it didn't really transition, when I joined the Gun Rights Radio Network forum, and I've got all these gun guys that are talking to me about cigars, and they're all guys that run podcasts, so it's really interesting because you connect with them on another level. And I just find that to be really cool. And beyond the introduction thread, which I thought was awesome, you look in there and you really get to see, you get a contact point for these bloggers and podcasters and things. So, in the cigar industry, we tend to, idolize almost these manufacturers. Or before I got into the blogging and podcasting aspect of it, I sort of looked up to a lot of these reviewers and bloggers and podcasters, and you get kind of excited when you get a chance to actually sit down and talk to them, and I still do. I love talking to Dale Roush from Dogwatch, and there are a variety of other bloggers and podcasters that I really enjoy sitting down and talking to, and it's a lot of fun. And having that connection point with these gun guys, where I'm sort of new to everything, in the sense that I haven't been reading gun blogs and listening to podcasts for nearly as long as I've been smoking cigars and doing the whole cigar blogging thing. So it's really cool to be able to talk to them. And if you look through there, you'll get to see the important people. Or I really shouldn't say important people, because that's kind of insulting to people that are below them on the, I don't know, that hierarchy. But you've got Masad Ayub, who is part of the Pro Arms podcast, and he runs the Masad Ayub group. I own a few of his books. I plan on buying more of his books. I would absolutely love to be able to take one of his classes. Unfortunately, I just can't afford it financially. And he's a member of the forum, and you can see him actively participating in threads that interest him. And there's your connection point to this published author who also does firearms training and everything else. And that's, again, I find that to be super cool. So you've got that contact point for all of these people that are, I don't know, sort of up here as far as I'm concerned. Being fairly new and looking in, I see these people higher up the food chain, and having a place to contact them and talk to them on a one-on-one level is really interesting, and I think it's really cool. So looking at the timer, it looks like I'm at about 18 minutes of rambling about this Gun Rights Radio Network and the forum. So basically, just to summarize really quickly, I discovered the Gun Rights Radio Network. I think it's fantastic, and if you own a gun, I strongly suggest you check it out and look at the variety of podcasts that are offered on the network. If you're into the forum thing, you should definitely check out the Gun Rights Radio Network forum. However, join the forum instead of just trying to view the forum, because you'll get frustrated like I did. And post a welcome topic, and check out all of the information that's there. It's fantastic. And that's about it. I found Gun Rights Radio Network. I really like it. I found the forum. I really like it. You should join it. All that good stuff. And that's going to be the end of this Shooting the Breeze video, because even though I do have something to sip on, I'm starting to get a little hoarse, and I'm running out of things to say. So until next time, happy smoking, happy shooting, and this time even happy drinking. And I will catch you later. So sit tight. Or bye. I really botched the ending on this one.